and it's a ticket. Talking market for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket.
Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is the sports show with a Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. Today we're going to talk about the Brandon Ingram trade rumors and address kind of what's going on with that. And we're going to also put ourselves into the blender. I can't wait. Jared, how you doing today?
Good, man. Just trying to figure out this whole jersey situation now that, one of my favorite current Pels players has changed numbers in favor of a player that I've wanted the Pels to pursue for quite a while. And so now I told you, I've got two options, I guess, if I just kind of put some tape and turn this into a 2 or turn this into a Murray. I've got options, which is the way I'm phrasing it, because I'm really just broke and can't afford 2 new jerseys.
Well, luckily for you also, there's so many colors of duct tape now. So you could probably get one that matches every single color scheme within that jersey and actually, make it look not homemade as possible. I'm not going to say that it's that it's not going to look homemade.
I didn't expect us to get here this quickly. They're doing some amazing things with duct tape these days. I don't know if you folks have seen.
I think that's actually what the show should be about today. Just
duct tape.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Duct tape jobs. Still my favorite intro for a show ever that we've done, but let's get to it. So Brandon Ingram, there was a lot of news this past weekend that possibly the Kings were going to get involved and that they were the front runners. Ends up the Kings make a three-way sign and trade with the Bulls and the Spurs to send DeMar DeRozan to the Kings. We don't need to talk about what that means for them. We don't care about that. We want to talk about what does that mean for the Pelicans and Brandon Ingram. Reports came out yesterday that since that kind of happened and, Paul George going to the 76ers, the trade market has cooled for him. With every day that passes, the colder and colder it gets, kind of like with any one of my exes. So
personal
catching strays. Let's do it. But when will this happen? Will it happen? What is going to happen with Brandon Ingram? That's a question on everyone's mind. Jared, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there are a lot of avenues to tackle with all of this. I do want to first start by asking, do any of your exes watch the show?
No, man, none of them will. None of them would care enough to do that. The only one would, I might actually show her and be like, hey, I made fun of you.
So if any of them, are interested in Brandon Ingram, there's a lot to tap into.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the trade market kind of cooling for him. I think as much as the trade market has cooled for Brandon Ingram, that a big piece of that is not so much his potential as a player on a roster in various places around the league, so much as it's this somewhat of a stalemate with the contract negotiations and realizing that he's on an expiring deal this year and that there's talk of him wanting to be a max guy. And we're in this new NBA world where maxing out a player who's not necessarily really a max caliber performer, as good as he's been, you really handcuff yourself with the new CBA, which I think also you look at the CBA itself, regardless of Brandon's value, you look at just the limitations on some of these rosters and where they are from a salary standpoint. So there's all of that piece to it. I think everybody seeming around the league to prioritize Lauri Markkanen a little bit above Brandon Ingram also kind of leaves that as a big domino, that if the Warriors feel like they have to take a big swing on a forward, they're going to continue to kick the tires on what can they possibly get Markkanen for before even opening the door to the Brandon Ingram conversation. And so I think there's a couple of teams that are somewhat viable trade partners for the Pels that are in a little bit of a wait and see mode on the Jazz, as well as for the Pels. The asking price, I think, for Walker Kessler potentially fluctuates if you're either completely rebuilding the Jazz or trying to kind of scratch up toward a potential play-in type situation. And so the Jazz themselves, I think, are in a little bit of a holding pattern for how to approach some things with other members of that roster that might be interesting pieces of a Brandon Ingram trade. And so there's a lot going on. We see a fast approaching August 6th date that if an extension is not signed before August 6th for Brandon Ingram, and it is signed after that, then he's realistically not going to get traded at any point this year. And so how some of the timeline dynamics work out is also a big piece of the equation. But yeah, a lot.
So you mentioned the Warriors and you mentioned the Jazz. Are there any other potential suitors that you could think of for BI?
Yeah, I think the big contenders get kind of tight because of the CBA dynamics. And you and I had talked previously with a nice 2025 draft on the horizon and teams looking at the opportunity to, enter the Cooper Flag sweepstakes and others. You're going to have a couple of teams toward the bottom, like Detroit's weird to me. We'll get into Detroit a little bit more, but like a Portland potentially, who looks like they'll be at the bottom of the West. Washington, some others that would they be teams that might be interested in Brandon Ingram? Does he hurt their potential tank ability? So there's some of those teams that I think are still potentially interesting. I still think there's a lot of sense one way or another to a Cavaliers trade that even with Kenny Atkinson at the helm, I'm not writing off the potential that Brandon Ingram ends up in Cleveland and Jared Allen ends up in New Orleans.
What about the Magic? And I've heard some Wendell Carter Jr. getting thrown in there a bunch, especially with them trying to actively compete and want to maximize Paolo Banchero's time there.
Yeah, I think
the deal time there, it's just a matter of time before someone else leaves Orlando.
I think the deal with the Magic is they just threw the bag at Franz Wagner and also signed KCP. And so some of those minutes and shot dynamics, on the wing around Paolo, who they're going to run a lot of that offense through, start to get really limited with some of the moves that they've committed to. As much as I think Wendell Carter Jr. would be an interesting add to the Pels roster, that's probably a situation now where you start to look at a 3-team type deal where Brandon Ingram heads somewhere, other pieces go to Orlando, and Wendell Carter Jr. comes to New Orleans. And I think that's where the ability of the Bulls to work out the sign and trade and send DeRozan to Sacramento really took a huge chunk out of the market for Brandon Ingram.
It really did.
The pieces that the Kings had to facilitate a 3-team deal, I think, were far more fitting than some of these other teams that had some Brandon Ingram interest.
Yeah. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe Brandon decides he will play with us and, even with that expiring contract or with all the stuff that you said. When does that come? Well, when does that trade or not trade? When does that guaranteed money come to him?
Yeah. So the deal, in terms of the timeline dynamic, is if you sign a sizable enough extension, then you can't be traded for 6 months. And so
right.
The trade deadline's February 6th. And so August 6th becomes that sort of deadline type timeline where if he signs an extension after August 6th, then you're not trading him at any point this year. It'd be not until next offseason, which is fine. I think, another kind of wrinkle to all of this is, as we mentioned, the salary component being something that is hindering the potential of a Brandon Ingram trade market. I think there probably at that point should be some realization for Ingram and his representation that, okay, maybe we're not going to garner the amount of money from some of these other teams that we had kind of hoped. And so maybe in these contract negotiations, we need to scale back and realize we're not getting maxed out. And it potentially needs to be tens of thousands of dollars lower than that max number. And so then maybe that becomes a humbling element and you start to find closer to middle ground of what the Pels could feel comfortable retaining him for in terms of a salary number. But there's just a lot of interwoven aspects to all of this at play right now. And they're trying to unpack it. And look, we're only 10 days into the offseason, really into free agency. And so as much as a lot happens very quickly as the calendar hits July and people expect everything to be done right off the bat, and it feels like that August 6th date is fast approaching, we're still almost a month away. We still have a huge chunk of the offseason to get through before you're heading into training camp with this still kind of up in the air.
It's going to be interesting. And I still think, I honestly, if we can find some more help, I know they just brought in Theis, but he's still an undersized center. It's probably going to go into that small ball Larry Nance type role, I would assume. But I think Larry Nance has more of an offensive game than Theis can provide. Obviously,
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. So we had so many troubles with names, and he's a European gentleman whose name is pronounced Theis.
whatever, man.
But I love that signing. I think they got to a point where they realized whatever they were going to do, they had to sign one of these minimum centers at some point that they could rely on. And I think Daniel Theis at this point in free agency for the $3 million number that they signed him for is a really nice addition that ideally you figure out a move and Daniel Theis becomes a backup within your center rotation. But I think he's also someone that is quality enough and has been a versatile, proven winner enough on some really strong playoff teams that if you have to go into the season, he provides you a little bit of insurance of it. If you got to lean on him, he's someone that is a serviceable center for a team that can still be really good with just a serviceable center. And so
for sure,
if you feel like that buys you some time and you don't have to extend Brandon Ingram and you have a chance to go into the season and try and trade him at the deadline, or any number of things, I think Theis, from what he brings as a player to that roster, also from some of the insurance dynamic he provides with, what the heck's going on with the potential Ingram deal, whether that be extension or trade, I think is a nice move at this point.
Well, it's going to be a crazy month, and NBA's already been done, and we're still talking about it. That's how much I love the NBA offseason, because it does consistently give us this drama week in and week out, and kind of tides us over until football. Baseball's fine and everything, but I like sports where there's more stuff, I guess.
The NBA offseason is a lot of fun in general, and this is such a pivotal offseason for the Pelicans. And so, yeah, it's prime, it's talking season, and it's prime talking season about the Pels franchise.
Absolutely. And we'll continue to cover that as we get more information here on PODnas. That's what we do, but we're trying something new today. We're calling it the blender. All right. So this is the blender. It's a wheel of fun, a wheel of fortune, which TM, shout out to Pat Sajak. We've got 6 different topics here. We're going to spin it, and then we're going to talk about that one.
How many of these are we doing? How much we got time for?
Let's see how we go. Not done yet. All right. So not done yet. Olivia Dunn is coming back for her 5th season with LSU after winning the national championship. In a video that she released on her social, she said she's not done yet. I love a good pun. That's why we put it on the blender. Jarrett, thoughts? Go.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts. Good for her. I know a lot of folks are going to be extremely excited to have her around the LSU program. She's been great there in terms of, a member of that team, and also just bringing a lot of visibility, obviously, on a national and international scale to LSU gymnastics at a time when, from a competition standpoint, they've been peaking. And so I think certainly happy to have her in Baton Rouge for another year, and hope that she and that Tigers team can just build that much farther off of a national championship team.
I love that. And hey, this is our first time doing it, guys. So we're just going to try again,
I don't know what you wanted me to say there, if I was supposed to get myself in trouble, but I
don't know either. I don't know.
I'm the consummate professional. All right.
All right. Double queen, Angel Reese. She's put up her 13th double in a row, setting a new WNBA record. She's selected to the WNBA All-Star team, where she's going to play with Caitlin Clark. We can talk about that once that happens. But hey, congrats, Angel. I don't have too much to say about that. I think it's great that she's dominating like that. She needs to work on her shot, but rookie's going to rookie. So, and when a rookie can be breaking records like this, I think it's nothing but good stuff, especially for the future of the Sky with her and Cardosa.
Yeah, we're in the early going of her not only career but of her season, and she's setting league records. And I saw a clip the other night of her kind of setting up, stepping back, and hitting a 3 from the top of the key. It took her a while to pull up and get the shot off. So it was fortunate that they had left her open to take it, but she's building some confidence there. And the fact that the stuff you knew she was going to be good at, the dirty work down low, is going as well as it is, as quickly as it is, I think is a great start for her. I saw somebody, I don't know if it was on Twitter or where this conversation was playing out, but talking about, was there the potential for her and Caitlin Clark to end up as like co-rookies of the year, which I think would be a hysterical end to this season.
I that would be so terrible. Someone has to lose. Like, you gotta pick because whoever you pick is gonna extend the rivalry more, and that's what you want. Why would you? This would just like kill it, and I think it would kill like not kill all the interest in that's happened in the WNBA this year, but it would just be like, come on. Like, I think there would be a collective like, come on, man. Like, we got to pick someone. It doesn't matter who it is. I think they're both having incredible seasons. You can make a case for both of them, but we got to pick one. All right. Chet got his team to the playoffs, but Wemby was still the rookie of the year. Okay.
Yeah. That's fair. I was going to say this, I think the Chet Wemby is a different conversation from this, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I'm just going to do a couple more, especially because we'll get a different one. And I just want to see, I want to get this down more so we can cut all this out. But we're going to do one more because that's what we do here at PODnas, and we got time. So I'm going to give this old gal one more spin.
I think the ones I really wanted to talk about, we hadn't even gotten to. This is a good one.
Oh, yeah. Joe roasted.
You should probably go ahead and put a picture of that atrocity up here on the screen too. But I mean, this was one
right here
for sure wanted to put on. You wanted to put on there. So talk us through your takeaway from this.
This backless suit that he's wearing. That's already been covered over and over again, but it came at TMZ dropping bombs like they usually do. They spoke to Joe Burrow and they said that he's been roasted in almost every group chat that he's been in, which good. Good. And thank you for his friends. That makes me actually feel a little bit better about the people around Joe Burrow.
100%. That's my biggest takeaway from what you told me, was that he's actually got good, honest friends around him and not just yes man leeches, because he deserved to be roasted for that.
Yes.
And that's how you got the right people in your group text.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So for all those group texts that you're making fun and calling out your friends on bad decisions and getting a laugh over it, keep going. I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from it as well. So
stars, they're just like us.
They're just like us. They're just like us. This has been the blender. We're trying something new here on PODnas. I love it. I think we're going to keep doing it. I love that it's called the blender. It's our own wheel of fun. That is going to be all that we have for today. Jared, do you have anything else for the people before we get out of here?
No, that's it, man. Just, I mean, keeping up with what the hell's going on with the Pels for these next few weeks. And now they're getting into summer league time. And so some fun times to see the youngsters get out there.
And we will also be bringing you all the updates on that, how the Pels summer league prospects, rookies are going to be doing, or their younger players. What's going on with the Brandon Ingram trade. We're going to be covering it. But if you like what you hear, please tell us a comment. Tell us what you didn't like as well. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you can to the Louisiana versus All Y'all channel. There's so much great content on there, not just the PODnas show. And follow us on socials at PODnas_LA on Instagram. I'm at Hawks Can Fly. Last name spelled right there. And then Jared, you're at Jared Roser on the X machine, the Twitter machine.
Yeah. And hey, for folks that hate this much NBA talk, we're going to be getting pretty hot and heavy into some LSU football pretty soon. So don't stop checking the PODnas feed, because there's a lot of Tigers on the horizon.
Hey, let's go. All right. We'll see y'all next time. Please come back and hang out with us. PODnas out.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest.